Just a quick introduction for Gabe Hjerstedt. As a player in 1997, Gabe won the BC Open to become the first Swedish player to win on the PGA Tour. Also won in 1999 at the Tucson Open, so two-time PGA Tour winner as a player. In 2009, started short game schools, working all over the country actually, LA, San Francisco, Kona, Hawaii, lots of places around the country, elite short game schools. So he does work with a lot of tour players, Bo Hostler, Emiliano Griano, Akshay Bhatia, Justin Suh, to name a few, a lot of LPGA players. In our conversations, what I also loved about and why I'm really excited about today's event is you also work with a lot of everyday players and beginning players and club players. So while you have the background as a tour coach, so to say, in the short game area, you also work with a lot of players who have not figured this out at all. And I'm really, really excited to hear what you have to say in that regard as well. Thank you.
That's good. Thanks for the introduction. I'm really excited to be here today, and thank you, Sean. Appreciate it. So I work with a lot of tour players, and then I work with players that have scoliosis. I'm sure you guys have seen those guys. So it's actually fascinating because what you end up seeing is, the chipping, which should be the easiest thing in golf. But unfortunately, the fine motor skills don't comply with everyone. And you'll even see that with tour players. So a lot of tour players that I work with have either had little issues chipping. And what's interesting with them is they end up playing away from chip shots. You see it all the time. I mean, the flag might be short on the front of the green. They're going to aim for the back of the green, take the 30-footer so they don't have to chip. So these are the sort of things that go through their minds. I was fortunate enough, to play all around the world. I got to play for 18 years professionally, every continent. Got to hang around some really cool mentors and play off different grasses. So one of the things, I always tell this story about Seve. When I was a young kid playing the European Tour, Seve was chipping, and I'd stand there and watch him for maybe an hour. He didn't say anything. It was just, you could see me there. And finally I said to Seve, is that a 60 you're using? And he goes, if you know what you're doing, you don't need a 60. So that was the end of the conversation. So, but, I got to hang around with the last ball. And what's interesting now, obviously I teach a lot of juniors and stuff, and you mention these names, and the kids have no idea who they are. So, and this is unfortunate, but I always feel like the chipping has never really changed over the last, 50 years. The way that people explain chipping has changed a lot with technology. And I was always taught to lead with their hands, okay? And, if anyone has any questions today, interrupt me, please, because I want to help you guys. In the end, it's about helping the amateur golfer at your club and, making them a better chipper and also making them a believer so they're going to come back and see you weekly to be able to get that same nice lesson. So if you have any questions, just fire away.
If you have any questions, do not interrupt them. Raise your hand and I'll interrupt you.
You can interrupt it. Okay, good. So the bottom line is the stuff that I've experimented, and I've used the Foresight machine. When did it first come out, the Foresight machine? It's like 10 years ago, probably? 8 years ago. So not knocking TrackMan or anything, but I was doing side-by-side analysis, and I at that point of time, the Foresight machine was far superior on the club face, understanding the descending blow, and what the face, dynamic loft of the face was doing. I had an idea, obviously, hitting golf shots and understanding, the way you spin a ball, or the feel that I had watching Seve hit shots, watching Lasbell hit shots, watching VJ hit shots. You hang around all these top players, and when you're playing golf for a living, you tend to make a change very quickly and make the right change. So one of the reasons why, and there's a lot of stuff out there about using the bounce. The first thing I always have an amateur do is learn to use the leading edge, okay? So if we get up and I'm getting up, I'm using the leading edge, hitting a low shot, because I feel like this is the fundamental of all chip shots, except bunker shots and flop shots, is that we lead with the hands, okay? So this is the basic shot. I'll come over and demo. We're into the grain here, so if I flub a couple, you'll know why. So if we look at like, I'll do this quick. So what I do with a lot of, amateurs, I'll even get them on the quad here like this. We'll hit a couple of shots, right? So I'm hitting a little shot like that, pushed it a little bit. So what we'll see here is an attack angle of 14 degrees down, which I say 14 degrees down to me is forwards. That's the way I look at it. I don't like the down because you can be shallow and forward. What was the dynamic loft on that one? So we'll come up in a second. Obviously I'm using the 56 there. If I grab my lob wedge, I'd go 2 feet. So, and I believe a lot of the amateurs at clubs too, it's like, I don't really give them a lob wedge. I just give them a 56 degree, teach them how to work that. It's a lot more forgiving. So, but that being said, the attack angle, I say it's forwards. Now, correct me if I'm wrong. How much is 6 degrees? It's like 1 second, right? Yeah. So what we're talking about here is like, some people say, okay, attack angle 6 degrees. Some people 14. Like I like to hang around 12, 14 degrees. But to double it, to go from 6 to 12 is that much. It's like a second on a clock. So, I mean, it's nothing, really, when you think about it. But what I want to teach my amateur and my pro player is obviously to hit the ball first every single time. So, as I get up, and this is the basic formula again, I'll have him choke down a little bit. I'll have him move forward and lead. So, just like you can always ask him if they've ever been in the trees and they had to chip out to the fairway underneath the branches, that's the shot that we're trying to hit. So Bo Hostler can't hit that shot. So he's got the yips chipping out sideways out of the trees, which is like, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on. So with the regular amateur player, because that's who we deal with, 90% of the time, if you can get them forward and you can get their hands ahead, they will chip decent. Obviously, whatever they do with their hands inside or whatever, try to get them somewhat on a plane. But another important factor is their grip pressure, right? So if I'm getting up here, I'm hitting a low shot forward like this. The grip pressure, you can bump it up as tight as you like, okay? So what I've found is that the tighter you make the grip pressure on some of these amateur players, the better they're going to end up chipping. Because what you feel like is tight normally is, pretty light compared to them. So another thing I like to do is, turn the hands against each other. So you lock it in, okay? The old towel grip where you lock it in. And this is, again, stock amateur player, maybe 6 handicap up to 27 handicap. So I get up, turn the hands together nice and tight. So now they can hang on like crazy, okay? And then have them hit some low shots. And as soon as you get their hands in front and get their body forwards, because they're going to want to do this, they're going to want to do that every single time. So if you have those people, you take a little step forward. Anything to get them forwards, and then you gold. Okay, they're going to come back and see you next week. And they're going to want to learn the flop shot. Any questions so far? Because one of the things is this is a very simple thing with the technology we have today. We can even measure. We're not guessing anymore. And, I feel like the shaft lean will stay the same. So if I'm hitting a shot back here, driving forward, is the same shot as I'm hitting from here, driving forward. I'm not changing anything. That obviously the shaft lean is going to be less than the forward ball position, but I'm always hitting a low shot. You know,
Can you hit a few shots where you just alter the ball position doing the same shot to show how the
yeah,
changes?
I'll try. Here we go. So if I'm getting up here, and you'll see another thing here that's interesting is we're obviously accelerating the backswing, right? So we're accelerating the backswing.
38-degree dynamic loft.
Okay, 38-degree dynamic loft, okay. I'm putting it forward in my stance. Okay, 49 degrees, okay. But those two shots were exactly the same, just different ball position, okay.
14 down.
And the thing is, if I got that with a lob wedge off that lie into the green, I'm obviously not hitting that shot. Even for me, it's going to feel like cringy as I set up to it. So a lot of the stuff is that lie based. So, and you know, obviously into the grain. But that's why I say, like, if you get a good 56 for your AM player at home, you know, it's going to make a big difference. Yes.
Question about bounce.
Yeah.
Camber on the leading edge of the wedge. Different conditions. You know, Florida compared to here.
Yeah.
Bent grass.
Yeah.
compared to Bermuda.
So what you'll see is, so if you take a look at that wedge there, it's got a little leading edge bounce. So one of the things that you can do to your amateur player at home is just give him a little forward leading edge bounce grind. You know, probably put it up there about 24, 25 degrees. And that makes a huge difference if it's a little soft outside. Like every tour player is going to have that on the leading edge, customized. So, and, you know, it's one of those things that the 56 is probably the most versatile for the average player, you know. But big deal because you get some of these wedges that they haven't got the, you know, the leading edge relief. It makes it very difficult, so.
And guys are going to vary their wedges depending on type of grass and conditions. More bounce.
Yeah. So on tour, I recommend the players that I work with. So we'll do probably a low bounce 60 or 61, high bounce 56. So when it's soft out, you just open up the 56 and hit it, or you do vice versa. So, but most of the time, you know, you go high bounce 56, great out of soft sand. Anytime it's soft, and then low bounce 60. So.
And when you're working with foresight, what kind of numbers are? It depends obviously on carry distance and things I mentioned. Your launch number, your launch angle, and your spin rate. What do you kind of for this tradition?
Yeah. So one of the things that's important to me is to understand the down or the forward. So ends up being shaft lean. So if I'm seeing a dynamic loft, you know, say I set up at 56 and I'm hitting at 38, you know, there's my shaft lean. I like to see that most tour players will fade it. You know, probably 85% of players will fade it. If Tiger says he draws it, he still fades it. It's a feel.
When you hit those shots with the varying ball position, I heard you say dynamic loft went from 38 to 49. What was the matching attack angle on those?
Probably lessened it a little bit, so probably 3 or 4 degrees less when I moved it up forward in the stance.
I was over there. It was 14 on the back and it was 12 in the front.
Okay, yeah. So it obviously has to vary a little bit at that point, but the understanding part of, especially with an amateur player, even with the pros, I mean, the first thing I do is like have them hit low shots, enough low shots where they get the shaft lean, and then the feel of that, and then you can open up the face and still hit a low shot. Because everyone else gets out there, they want to open up the face, especially the amateur player or even some of the pros, they open up the face and they say, oh, better loft it. And scoliosis comes in. So if I always stay forward, always hands forward, always feel like there's very little that can go wrong. What are we playing golf?
Okay, we got a question here.
Yes.
Thanks, Gabe, for coming out. Very impressive, by the way. Very much similar to that question. I was standing right near you here when you hit the shot. So your ball position changed, I don't know, 6, 8 inches significantly.
Yeah.
But the strike angle only changed 2 degrees.
Yeah.
Can you speak to that a little bit? I would have thought it'd be quite a bit more.
It's probably because I'm into the grain and I'm freaking out that I'm going to skull it or chunk it. That's it. So it's, yeah.
Hi, Gabe. I was just curious on the wedge you're using. Did you have the leading edge like customized to that? Did you have that altered?
Yeah.
And if an amateur buys one off the shelf and they're coming to you and they don't have that, are you going to alter the wedge or are you going to teach them how to?
Yeah, so I make these. This is my brand. So obviously I have a computer milling out my hand grind. So they come like that stock every time. Yes. Yes. And I've got the bounce on the back, obviously, too. So with the lob wedge, I end up having toe bounce, heel bounce, leading edge bounce, straight face and back. So, I mean, you've got a bunch of different positions that you can use the bounce. So one of the things is like if I do have a tight lie, I'm going to get down. Rocco's great at this too, so because he uses a 56, and you get down and you just use the toe. So that's why the tour players have so much relief on the toe. But they're playing different conditions, super tight grass all the time. So yes.
So the attack angle was double digits down on both of those shots you hit over there. You're talking about how you're hitting into the grain. You've said some things about hitting ball first contact. Are there any situations where you're intentionally trying to hit the ground first?
Only if it's a short shot into the grain, Bermuda, I'll just hit a bunker shot off the grass. So that's more like if you were at the Players when they used to play it in May, when it was really grainy, yes. But out of the rough, sure. You know, if I've got depending on the line, the rough, how it's sitting, but obviously out of the rough, that's the only time that you say you hit up on it, you know. So, I mean, if it's up in the rough, I'm going to lean back and I'm going to try to hit it like it's off a tee. So, but all I've seen, like everything I've seen everywhere I've played, all the top players I've hung around, if the lies get cringy, they're going to go more forward. Otherwise, they're going to be like getting that flight home on Friday. So, yeah.
Okay, about your custom head, right?
Mm.
So I got 2 things for the types of steel and the grooves.
Yeah, it's a 1020, and I got mini grooves. So, so I went with mini grooves. And what's interesting was, you know, a couple of years ago, I was doing testing at home, and I found that the mini grooves were delivering a lot more spin at low speeds. And Marty Jertson happened to be there on the back of the range and hit my club, the lead designer of Ping. And sure enough, we'll see Ping now with mini grooves, which is great. So, but I feel like more and more manufacturers will probably go to this. I think it's looks better for one, you know, but they do spin a lot more. Yeah.
Thank you for being here. Could you share a little bit about how much your balance is moving to the left, and then also what you actually see, whether it's like you're looking at the target from the side, like the eye on the side of your head thing, or if you're seeing the club hit the ball?
Great question. So one of the things, what I've found out, like, and the thing is, you can set up left. Obviously, there's tons of players that set up left on tour and stay left. The reason why I don't like to do it with the amateur players is because if you set them up left, they're going to come back to the right. So if I'm setting up neutral and I'm moving forwards, okay, one thing that I always do, I've always done this, is I set up behind the ball, then I flip my eyes to the front side of the ball, and as I move forward, I'm looking around the front of the ball, which is I didn't realize I was doing that until a few years ago when people asked me where I was looking. But so that gets me ahead of the ball. And when you think about, like, that's a great tip for like an amateur player when you get up and say, okay, because they're back here. So you say, look on the front side of the ball and then see if you can look around a little bit more. And all of a sudden they're in front of it with their body. And you can sort of say to him, did you look at the front when you see him do that? He said, no, okay, I'm going back. And it's one of those things that's very simple for for a 12, 15 handicapper to do. It's like look at the front of the ball and look around the front of the ball a little bit more.
So with some of my members, they actually find those blade wedges actually a lot difficult to hit those instead of cavity back blades. Or Callaway came out with those lighter wedges.
Yeah.
Do you build any type of lighter wedges for those type of people, or even because the steep angle is too? Steep,
What sort of grass? What sort of fairways have you guys got there?
Bermuda.
Yeah.
That way.
So, and if it's soft Bermuda, obviously the 56 is ideal. The 61 is going to be a little brutal for most people, but the 56, I'd put it probably in the category of this particular club, probably top 5 Bermuda wedges I've ever tried. So, but that's when you sort of, the conditions massive. That's one of the things that you start seeing, like when you play on tour, and that's why I'm out there every week with these guys. The conditions are changing and they're trying to figure it out. I was fortunate enough to play so many different golf courses in different countries that, you play on grasses that you can't even make up, and then you figure it out pretty quick. Yeah.
Yeah, most of my amateurs come from north. The snowbirds, they come down south, so they're used to the softer conditions from up north.
Yeah.
Desert, so it's a massive change for them.
Yeah.
So they still think they could still hit the exact same way they can up north, and so I have to kind of relearn them how to hit down here.
Yeah.
They have to go back up, so they keep.
No, it's pretty interesting because you can have someone. I remember the first so one of the things is that you look at tour players in general, you can tell which part of the world they come from. Like if they're a South American player, African player, Australian player, they have different chipping techniques than North American players because you're playing off hard ground all the time. So you're always like getting on top of it. Doesn't matter. You get on top of it. You hit down as hard as you want. There's no divot. I remember the first time I came to Valderrama. I just come from Australia. I've got the Ping Eye 2 wedge and it's tight, bent grass. And I get out my first shot and a big divot like this. I'm like, what am I doing wrong? But so it does, conditions play a huge part. But you look at all the players, firm condition players have a lot of wrist movements. Soft condition players has less wrist movements. It's just the way that they got conditioned. Like soccer players in Brazil, they play in small quarters, dribble like crazy. German players, they play on big fields, they're better at passing. So it's the conditions make a big difference.
Did you change any of your, like you're taking huge divots, you're just saying, okay, this week I'm going to take huge divots? Were there any changes there?
Yeah, on the tour, you're okay doing that. If you're at a country club, they're not going to like you too much. But I hit about 10 shots there at Valderrama and I was done because I could see the pro looking out the window. It's like, what's happening here? But I feel like, you can't be afraid of the divot when you're playing tournament golf. It's a given. Like most spring golf, you're going to have, the grass will be a little bit off and you will need to be attacking it. And most of these kids out there that they don't understand that you get a switch to a 56. They go ahead and hit their lob wedge and just gouge it into the ground and they have a bad week chipping, So, when I played in Europe all the time, we used the 56 all the time because of soft, mushy conditions. So I think that's why I like a high bounce 56, low bounce 60. Yes?
Oh, sorry. Gabe, how much do you say most of the players on tour are playing cut shots? How much do you build it into your setup versus how much do you try to do it dynamic?
That's an interesting question because I think they don't cut it. That's the problem. So it's like if I look at spin axis, or if I look at, I'm trying to think, most people I'll see like a stock chip shot, just naturally they're like from 0 to maybe 2 or 3 left, you know, and once you start going into like a little higher shot, I mean, so I always say it's like it varies from in to out 3-4 degrees, maybe 5-6 depending on the shot, to 25 degrees slice depending on the shot. So one of the things, like one of the chip shots we play on tour, hopefully I don't take it too big of a divot, but it's like a little hook shot like that, where you're running up a little hill. So you shut the face, and that's really the only time that you're great little Bermuda shot up a hill. You get up here, and it has side spins the other way. So most of the time, I want to see side spin to the right. So I always say it's almost like playing ping pong. You know, a little tennis slice. And that relates with a lot of times with the amateurs. You know, most of them are, you know, I look at, they're not using their wrist properly. They don't know what hand to hang on with. So I just set them up rock solid as tight as they can with their hands and say, hit me a low shot. And all of a sudden they're in the ballpark. Yep.
Yeah, Gabe, can you speak to, you know, say the down the line view and what you see, you know, as far as the plane of the club, how much body turn, what you see amateurs doing compared to, say, better players, how close you're standing?
Yeah, so I feel like the setup is a good question because obviously the shorter the shot, I'm going to be standing more on top of it. You know, I just want to make sure that I'm right on top of that shot. And it'll, you know, if you got a flop shot, you'll probably stand a little further away, so you're changing a little bit. So the tour players, I'm pretty specific to be somewhere near the plane, back and through. I certainly don't like it in around me. And the thing is, you see the player like a Bo Hostler, a Xander, like they grow up in these California conditions, they'll be a lot more rounded naturally. So I always got to be on them about feeling like they're slicing the ball. But I'll just put sticks in the way or something with the arms a lot of the times. But I believe that it's not really a body move. I mean, for a good player, it's definitely not a body move chipping. It's an arm move because they're used to turning the body. I mean, listen, if you're less than a 20 handicap, maybe say 10, you're going to know how to turn your body. So it's more of a thing of saying, okay, I go up, my arms take it down, and my body follows. Because I feel like if you start using your body too much chipping, that's a lot of energy for a small shot. And going into the flop shot as well, that's definitely arms leading the body. But obviously you got to make that analogy for the player that you're working with. But I think the biggest thing is that the most success that I have with the average player that's not very good is getting their grip nice and tight. Because all of a sudden they feel like, okay, I'm hanging on to something. I can actually feel what I'm doing. It's not, your wrists aren't going all over the place. And just have them hit some little low shots, leading with the hands. I don't know, I hope that answered your question.
Adding to that, I actually would be interested in hearing your thoughts on handle height and how you use handle height to hit different shots. And
yeah, I don't really go too low. I know a lot of people go low in the rough. I like it obviously a little bit more upright, you know, depending on the shot. But if I'm hitting a flop shot, I'm going to get away from it a little bit. If I'm hitting a low shot, standard stock shot, I'm going to get more on top of it. Lie dependent. Like if I've got to lie into the grain, I want to be more on top. You know, if I got a down grain lie, it doesn't really matter. So I feel like, and then it comes down to like some people will set up shut, you know. Some people set up way open. Some people set up with their feet like that. So what's right? Nothing. You know, it's like just sort of figure it out. Where the bottom line is, I feel like if the hands are ahead of the ball at impact, you've got a chance. Questions? Yeah.
On a stock shot, are you more using the face angle to change height? Are you more ball position to change height?
Ball position.
And then when it relates to enhancing or dampening spin,
Yeah, so let's do a couple of those. So, because what I feel like, if it talked about the basic shot again, like the basic stock shot, where I'm just back in the stance, driving it forward, hitting a low shot, right? So I'm just getting up here, just hitting like a little low shot like that. Now, obviously, I don't really want to change anything when I put it forward in my stance. So now, like I look at this lie right here. So it's forward in my stance. It's into the grain a little bit. I'm in front of all these people here. I'm like, I'm supposed to chip really good. And these are the sort of things that go through the amateurs' heads too. This is all normal. But what I can rely on, okay, I'm going to lead with my hands. Okay, I know I'm going to hit a decent shot. So now on the smash, this is the dampening the ball. So this is very interesting because if you carry enough speed, so Ben Crenshaw told me one time when we were practicing, it's like he always took a long enough backswing not to hit it. Obviously, we know that in putting, we've measured it. And it's the same thing in chipping. If you look at like Olazabal, very aggressive. So if we go to that second flag here, so I'm going to go 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So that's a very aggressive swing, but the ball came out reasonably soft. So because of a constant speed. So obviously, if I have constant speed, it's going to grab the club. So if I get up here and just like I'm letting go, it's coming out. That's the deadness, that we're looking for. So a lot of the times with accelerators, like massive accelerators, I'll get them to hit shots like that where you say, okay, you're going to let go at impact. So they start understanding that, okay, I'm allowed to have speed here, speed there, but no speed at the ball. And
on tour, we're going to see players letting go of their clubs now. Thanks for that, Gabe.
Gabe, is there ever a situation where you like a sliding bottom, like where it doesn't?
Yeah, down grain. So, and that's lie dependent. It's like if you look in your chops when you got a down grain lie, and you could be this far away and be into the grain, and it's going to be really messing with your mind. So, it's the lie dependent is everything.
In terms of hitting these shots and measuring them, it sounds like you are sort of on the same side of the argument as Joseph Mayo, who's done a lot of these TrackMan measurements.
Yeah.
And something that he's been talking about a lot is getting the vertical swing plane up near around like 80-ish.
Yeah.
Is that a number that you measure, look at, think is important?
I don't measure that number, but I agree with everything he says. So really, the way I chip, he's described it with numbers. And we had some long conversations like a year and a half ago because I have used this machine for a long time. I've seen, and even like 2-3 years ago when I was telling people, listen, you're hitting down 6 or 7, maybe 5 or 6, and I said get it to double digits, people would freak out. Obviously now we know it's not a big deal. Once you realize how small it is, because that's something we understand. Like 6 degrees more is 1 second, like in distance. It's nothing. So I mean that makes it easy for the mind to comprehend. But I do agree with, the club coming down a little steeper down here this way, as long as you're forwards, not falling backwards. So
That would lead more into that cut spin as well.
yes. And I feel like, I'm the school of I want spin. Like my players, I want them to say, listen, I'm spinning it too much. That's when I know I've done a good job. Because obviously once you get on the PGA Tour playing firm, fast greens, and people say, oh, why don't you chip and run it? Well, I am with a lob wedge, and I'm trying to spin it as much as I can. So that's where, people don't realize, like the regular amateur don't realize that, but you can get them spinning it a lot this way too, with a little bit of constant speed and understanding, because acceleration through is like, you go in the range and hit one of those range balls where it just takes off with no spin. So, yeah.
How much of this applies in a bunker?
Nothing really. It's, sorry. It's one of those deals. It's like bunker is an accelerated shot, like where I get up and I always say like this. You guys will get some worth out of this right here. It's a good question. So one of the things is I always try to tell people when you're in the bunker, it's the same speed as an 8-iron. Ladies, 5-woods, drivers even. And a lot of the times when people have issues, you know, they'll hit the shot and it won't go very far. Especially, this can happen to a lot of the ladies. Just get them to release the toe as hard as they can that way in the bunker, and they'll get it out every single time. It's a funny phenomenon that happens because a lot of times when people come into the bunker, we all hang on pretty good, but they don't. They come in, they bounce, and it flies open like that. So I've found a lot of success releasing the toe for people, even some tour players as well. But get in there and say, flick it over. If it goes left, it's gone. You've done it too much. It's a very simple way to get people hitting it out of the bunker real quick. And one of the other things is hitting close to the ball out of the bunker. So I like to operate like half an inch behind it. I know people freak out, quarter to half an inch behind. If my players don't hit the ball first a few times, I'm upset. So you've got to get them super, super close. The closer we get, obviously, the more spin we achieve with that club head speed.
How many wedge would you recommend carrying, and you shift primarily with 60 and 56?
Yeah, so in soft conditions, I think like I like a lob wedge, you know. But if it's a high handicap, I'll just take it out. Juniors take it out. They'll have to use 56s for a while, so they develop some skills. But you know, primary is going to be I've got a wedge that I use off firm lies. I've got a wedge I use off soft lies, and that's how I operate. And really on tour, I didn't really change clubs that much. I'd use my lob wedge mainly all the time. And but I think, you know, if you play firm conditions, great, bring your lob wedge out. But if you don't, just use the 56. Yes.
What about like total beginners that are blading it all day? Like, what about like 987?
Yeah, I mean.
It's like
No, you can still get them into 56, I feel like, and they can still teach them the flop shot. I feel like, but it's right. I mean, some of these, if you're a total beginner, you just got to get them on the green. But I think you can, depending on what level. I mean, I've had some, obviously if you got someone that's playing golf for 2 weeks, it's kind of hard. But I think once you can get them just moving, like understand that the hands lead the way, you'd be surprised how quickly they can really use the 56. So.
Hey Gabe, I have a question here.
Yeah.
Thanks for today, by the way. I realize it was pretty emotional for you to kind of hit this golf shot into the grain in front of people, a little bit nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
Can you coach me about the emotional part about it for yourself, whether it was like on tour or even like when you deal with your amateur players as well?
Yeah, so I think it's like I had some issues. I had a different type of yip. I had a yip in my right leg in my full swing, which is like crazy to think about. You know, it started one day. I was playing great golf, like ranked 115 in the world when I was 21, and my right leg started straightening on the downswing. I couldn't hit it 180 yards. So I have a lot of compassion for these people that have, you know, yips or have issues, you know, and I somehow worked my way around it. I didn't reach my potential. I didn't feel like I had to. I'm still trying to figure it out. I think I got it. But that's one of those things. It's like, who knows what happened? I had a little injury and then it started happening. So, but I think the nerves are interesting. So if you practice enough, obviously, and you're nervous, you'll still perform. If you don't practice and you're nervous, you're not going to perform. So, and it's the way the brain is like, listen, for me, I got different checkpoints to chill myself out, you know. You know, I could say this could be my last day on the planet. I'm really going to enjoy this session right here. That's how I have to operate to get myself chilled. And some of the things that happened, like I was at Augusta one year and I got paired up with Arnold Palmer. You know, I'm on the putting green getting warmed up. They call my name to the first tee. I'm walking to the tee and my hands start shaking like crazy. The next thought in my mind is going to be, oh, how am I going to tee the ball up? You know? So these are the things. This is someone that's playing golf every week, and I'm thinking about how am I going to tee the ball up. So I can just imagine some of the stuff that goes through these amateurs' heads. You know, and all they really want to do is be able to stand up and hit a good shot in front of their buddies, you know. And you know what they're thinking. They're thinking, if I'm probably going to scull this across the green. It's weird. But, so, yes.
What would be a quick fix for someone who has a decent short game but gets it thin out of the bunker often?
Thin out of the bunker often? Bouncing into it, or?
Like more club to ball.
Yeah. So one of the things out of the bunker, and listen, there's a lot of different techniques, but if you watch Tiger, if you watch Rory McIlroy, John Rahm, and this will probably help. They all I'll do the same thing here. They turn off their right foot. So what happens with a lot of people, they come in and they're not turning properly, and that's probably where the skull comes from. So if that body keeps moving around, most of the time you'll see like a lot better impacts. Hey, by the way, is there anyone here who has, like, I don't want to call anyone out, if anyone has chipping issues or a little bit of heebie-jeebies, scoliosis, come on out. So this is one of these things. It's like, listen, we're all professionals here. We're not going to judge. So we've all hit bad shots. That's one of the things too. It's like the regular amateur player, they get embarrassed easy. But if they're around a tour player, the tour player's not going to care because they've experienced it all. So what do you feel like your issues are?
I get a little bit of a loop coming out and then rerouting inside on my short swings, and so I have to feel like I'm coming in and over the top just to keep it back online.
Sure. Yeah. Let's take a look at a couple. Yeah. Let's go right there. It's pretty good there. Okay, so that's a little bit of a, yeah. So let's hit a couple more there. So one of the things is obviously the loop under is very dangerous because we're going to start hitting some ground before the ball, right? Okay. Let's go a couple more. That's decent there. Give me some more grip pressure there. A little bit more, more. There you go. Beautiful. So one of the things is what's interesting here is too, is like sometimes when we hang on too soft, there's issues. Like you guys play around with this when you practice. Get up here and just tighten it up. Go a couple more there. So turn your hands against each other nice and tight. Good. And just give me that little fade shot. Good, beautiful. Does that feel more solid?
Yeah. Feels
So
like I'm squeezing
yeah, you can. So don't be afraid. You can hang on as tight as you want. Like you've got some of the players like Byron Nelson used to hang on like crazy to the golf club. And, you know, with Bryson hangs on like crazy to the golf club. So you can always play around with the grips like that. Hang on crazy. Like Steve Stricker, I've seen him have some serious issues. I mean, you look at him now, but when he was in his early 40s, he was like over here, chipping all crazy bits. So he hangs on super tight with his left hand. You know, that's the way he feels it, you know. So play around with the grip. So one of the things is here with the grip that's kind of fun to do. Like I had this guy come in from Costa Rica. He says, I need a lesson. I said, okay, how long do you need? He says, 3 days. And I'm like, 3 days. But he had serious yips. So what we ended up doing was, after 2 days, I've tried everything. But we ended up going to the claw grip like this, right? So I said, just get up here and just drive it forward with that claw grip, and all of a sudden he could chip. Started winning these amateur events and stuff. But it's like you can play around with the grip, and that's why you see the cross-handed, and there's all sorts of weird stuff to try. But the one that I like the most is you get up and you say, you're allowed to grip as hard as you want. Just make sure the hands are turning against each other so that you create like a little lock there. And then from that position there, go ahead. You can move your wrists and stuff, but all of a sudden they have stability of the club head a little bit. They can actually feel the club head for the first time. They actually hit the shot, which is interesting right there. Thank you. Anyone else that's, because I want to see if, has anyone got real yips?
Anthony Leone. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I say that out loud? I thought the mic was off. Anthony Leone.
Come on. It's okay. Let's go. It's.
I didn't realize the mic was on.
I saw him chipping cross-handed earlier, so, which is good. So.
Yeah, back up over here. Hi. How are you?
Thanks.
I
You
just
gonna go
real quick, if I
cross-handed?
just really quickly on this,
Yeah.
not for his sake, but I just want to, I think for us as coaches, like that you expressed that you got nervous in some of these moments, and that we now have professionals who are a little bit dicey to come up in front of our peers. This is what our customer feels like tenfold.
Yes.
And while we're learning, where do I stand? What's my technique? Is it 12 degrees, 4 degrees? Let's remember that these people need to be encouraged. They need to be softened up a little bit. It's okay. Allow them. And I love what you did about, you can hit some bad shots, skull some, whatever. Let's figure some stuff out.
Yeah.
That we have to remember within all the technical stuff, we're dealing with people that are anxious. And if we can kind of diffuse that as a part of what we
Hit a
do,
couple of
we're gonna help people get better at the game. It's a massive component.
Hit a couple right here. Yeah, I had one guy. He hit it. He hit it here, here, and here. He did it like 3 times. I'm like, can you do that again? I want to get it on video. So what was that down there? Yeah, good.
11.2.
So what do you feel like? What hand do you feel like the yip is, and what mentally is the yip? What is it that?
It's fear of the ground.
Fear of the ground?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So it's fear of the ground. So, all right, so get up there again. So let's do this. So just regular grip, okay? Regular grip. Choke down a little on the club. Okay. Now, give me here. Let me have it. So I want you to hold it like that. Like turn your hands against each other, nice and tight. Good? All right? Now, you got a little tree in front of you right here. You're just going to chip it back into the fairway. Just chip it into the fairway. Good. There you go. There's your shot. So one of the things is here is like we got to sort of diffuse the situation and put them somewhere else where they can actually start making something that they've done before. Now, if it's another sport or whatever it is, like we've all chipped it out from the trees once or twice. So again, hang it tight, hands tight. Good. Perfect shot.
It's more performance and sort of situationally based.
Yeah. But so this is where it starts. It's like we got to get like a basic shot. Like so this, what you feel here is what you got to do in every single shot. So go again. So turn your hands against each other nice and tight. Choke down a little bit. So you want to make that club nice and short. Okay, you're just chipping it out. Beautiful. There you go. Nice. There you go. But one of the things is the but the thing is the grip is a big deal to be able to hang on super tight, because that gives you some sense of, okay, I've got a little control. Because what we need is, obviously we want to lose control playing golf, but it's hard to say to someone, don't care. So by hanging on tight like that and chipping it under a branch, all of a sudden you've given this player, okay, I'm allowed to hang on tight. I'm going to chip it under a branch. You got 2 things to build off right now. So go again. So hang on tight, choke down a little bit. If you're in the trees, you're chipping out. Beautiful. So, and that's how you start the progress. Okay, now come back and see me next week. The lesson's going to be twice as much.
Okay. Hi. By the way, thank you so much for coming
Yeah.
out here and teaching all of us. I have a question. I'm still learning myself. I was playing on a women's all-pro tour, so came across a lot of golf playing on tour. There was one instance that I found myself in many situations I kept on getting stuck, and I played around with different clubs. Now, the one instance that I'm noticing that you're having the ball position being the back, hands forward, and kind of really strong grip through.
Yeah.
Now, the position that I was in, I was playing in Texas, so a lot of the conditions in front of the greens were very wet, very soft. And I would try to pull off that same shot, thinking that's the right one. I'm trying to get to the back pin and everything. How would you go about that type of shot? Just curious as to your process.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where, so if I understand that you got a soft Bermuda lie and you're trying to drive it back, yeah. And I'd probably go a 56 degree and I'd probably take a divot about this big. And that's the thing, it's like, that's where you got to embrace the divot. It's like, at all costs, I'm going to hit the ball first. That's what you're sort of thinking. And it's going to be, my attack angle, which normally if I hit that chip shot, maybe it's 12 degrees down. It'll probably be 20 degrees down. It's not going to look very pretty, but I know it's going to get there. So that's where it's, the experience playing on that ground, because it's the worst case scenario. Because you're going to hit one shot, or you hit a practice swing and take a big divot. You're like, whoa, this is not. But hopefully, that's tough conditions to play off.
And also the hill, sorry I didn't mention this last, but the hill is going uphill.
Yeah.
So feeling like I'm hitting into the ground feels like I'm really going to go.
So if I had some green to work with, I'd probably pull out my 52 degree, or even go gap wedge, just to sort of like lessen the down into the ground.
That's what I played around too, so I just wanted to hear
Yeah. No, that's the right way there.
Gabe?
Yes.
Yeah, hey Gabe, really nice to have you here today. I've been to a lot of seminars around the country, specifically at the PGA teaching summits down in Florida and such. And this is what teaching and coaching seminars are supposed to be about.
I appreciate
You're
that.
doing a great job.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. That's nice. All right.
Thank you. Gabe, on the last shot that the lady was just speaking about there, if you had to hit the ball into the air off that into the grain kind of uphill lie where it's really easy to stick it in the ground, are you still going to be attacking the ground as much and just trying to get the loft back by opening the club face still, but
50-50.
kind of pinch it? Okay.
50-50. 50% chance of success. So even on a flop shot. So one of the great things, I got to play with Mickelson a lot. And I mean, he designed those little chipping greens up there, which don't look like much, but they're brilliant. Even on those shots, I'm always leaning. Even with my flop shots, I try to lean the shaft. In the bunker shots, I'm leaning the shaft. So, and the thing is, people say, all right, you're leaning the shaft in the bunker. If you're a great player, some of these top tour players, they need to throw it out. Most amateurs will never have enough angle to throw out, so you're leading with the shaft. So, so that's out of the bunker. I've got, low flight, mid flight, high flight, and it's all hand related. Now on those flop shots off that lie, I'd probably ask myself why I'm playing that tournament. And then I'd pull out probably like a 56 or even anything that I know that I'm not going to super dig it with. And just play my regular flop shot and pray. And that's one of those things when I was a young kid, my coach, Charlie Earp, same guy that Greg Norman did his apprenticeship and taught Greg a lot, but he'd have me out on this hard pan ground, like super hard pan. And I had to hit these flop shots. And he's like, you got to stand here and hit the flop shot and disassociate yourself from the ball. So he just pounded into my head. The ball's not there. You just swing it, just swing it, swing it. So in that scenario, that's the sort of thing that I would use. I'd say, you know what? I'm just going to get up. I'm going to make my flop shot swing. and whatever happens, happens. So, yeah.
Yeah, you had just referenced Steve Stricker and Xander. Do you think their short game is good because they are a bit more around and shallow, or could they benefit from being a bit steeper and more on top of it?
So what you have guys like that is like they hit so many golf balls, it doesn't matter in the end. You know, they figure out, like I showed Xander a shot when we're up at the Travelers and he goes, "What, I can't do that," you know? But it's one of those things that, you know, they pound balls all day, 7, 8 hours a day. So even if they're a little in, they still know where the bottom is, you know? And I feel like to sort of, that's why I look at good players on tour and you look at the swings. You could stand 300 yards away and say, okay, that's that player, that's that player, that's player. You know, one day, maybe another 50 years, they'll all look the same. Hopefully not, but it's more like that. But I think, you know, obviously if you grow up in Southern California, if you grow up on kikuyu grass, there's very high probability that you're okay chipping like that. And then you go down to Texas or go somewhere where it's grainy, they give you a call and say, listen, I can't chip anymore, I've lost it. So it's the conditions again. And I think if Xander would have grown up in Texas with Jordan Spieth, they'd look the same, you know. So Spieth is big divot taker, but that's because he grew up on firm ground. Yeah. Yeah.
When you said, you know, your low, medium, high, and a little more specifically, how you approach downhill bunker shots.
Yeah. So I was fortunate enough to grow up on a golf course with no bunkers my first 3 years playing golf, and I absolutely sucked out of bunkers. But when I saw my coach, Charlie Earp, so he taught me from an early age to sort of peel through like this. And this is something that's, if you just watch the guys on tour, the good bunker players, they all turn off their right foot. Now, I know you got the Sevi and, you know, that sort of stuff. That's fine. But that's very specific. But if you watch John Rahm, you watch Tiger, there's a ton of players, and you'll watch them. They'll get up here. They'll make a little quick spiral on the way through. That's how you can start hitting really close to the ball. Now, when I get up and I control the flight, so if I want to hit a low shot, I'm always playing it out of the middle of stands because I'm a little steeper. I grew up with no sand in the bunkers, so it's like, that's another thing. Like, we had no sand, so you learn to hit close to the ball. It was a benefit for me now. So, and you get up. Now, if I want to hit a low shot, I'm getting up and I'm leaning the shaft as I come into the ball. I'm still following through. Takes a few shots to sort of get the feel for it. And then I'll pitch a little higher shot, and I get up and I lean the shaft a little less. And a really high shot, obviously, I'll just try to hit the back of the club. But so with a lot of my players, the tour players, I'll stand out here with a rake, hit it under that, hit it under that, hit it over that. So we start sort of, because I want them to be able to fly. Like Akshay Bhatia has become a real bunker player. And when we first started, it's like he would kind of run it out. I want a one-hop stop. I want to be able to get it as close as I can and stop it. And it's just a nice, aggressive way to play. But it's done with a little bit of shaft lean. So, give an example. I was in the bunker at the Masters. I got to play Augusta 3 times. And this year I got thrown out of Augusta. I'll tell you a story there. I had my phone in my back pocket. I wasn't using it. I got rejected. But so I was with Elazabal, and he's hitting bunker shots, and I'm watching him. One in the bunker, one in the bunker, 2 in the bunker. He's not getting it out. So I jump in the bunker. I said, "What are you doing?" He says, I'm trying to hit the lip to slow it down." So all of a sudden you start realizing, okay, this guy's in there hitting 100 shots trying to hit the lip just if he needs to slow the ball down, right? So I started trying to hit the lip. So we stood there for an hour trying to hit the lip. But these are sort of stuff but what happens is all of a sudden you start developing the feel in your hands and stuff, you know. I was with Akshay Bhatia this year at Augusta. And so the bunkers at Augusta, they have their lips, and then they have like a little little ridge just above, about this much, and it goes down on the other side. And that's really what you can hit into to slow the ball down, a lot of the holes. So I was with Akshay and I said, okay, we're going to start working on this. In a couple of years, you can start using the shot. So he hit like 38 shots. 2 of them hit the edge where we're trying to hit it. And he was like, this is so crazy. First round, number 12 is in the back of the green on the downslope. He hits the shot. Into the hill, slows it down like this. And I'm just like, this kid's unbelievable. But that's like, he has no fear, you know, and some players are like that. So great intuition. But I always, you know, with your better juniors and stuff, sort of play around with that height stuff because it's pretty interesting. Yes, sir.
I'm really enjoying this. Would you touch upon, do you teach or feel, or maybe it's just me, this idea of actually standing up at impact to keep yourself from digging it in?
Yeah. So I think it's a natural thing for a better player to do that. So, and I think we're just creating space, right? So if you look at players, I mean, you can go down, if you look at some old videos from 30 years ago, they're obviously, everyone's doing the same. So it's like, if I move forward and I'm in this position, I'm trying to create some space. So I just come up a little bit like that. Now, obviously we see a lot of the AMs do this. So what I'll do is I'll get out, I'll put the sun in my back like this. I'll put my shadow on the ball. And I'll tell these guys, okay, you're gonna get up, you're gonna watch your shadow. They won't watch the shadow first, so you gotta tell them a few times. Okay, you gotta watch the shadow, and then you're gonna move forward, and then move your head up. Okay, so forward, move your head up. So that actually gives them a little bit of feel. So you do that for 4 or 5 minutes, and then they'll still dip their head, and then you go back to that drill again. So, but that's a good way to sort of train. Like you can say, when you get to the chipping area, get the sun in your back, forward, up, just so they get to feel it. Good players do it naturally, obviously, because they, you know, it's like anything, we become efficient.
Got a question, Gabe?
Question, in your left foot seems to kind of have a little tap or something kind of in that transition there. Can you talk about that?
Left, so the foot pressure and chipping is kind of interesting to look at. So if you look at Mickelson next time he chips, because I mean, I've played with this guy. The guy's a freak around the greens, but he is also, he goes for those shots, but you'll see he's very light on the heels, okay? Now, when I'm chipping, I've got no pressure on my heels. So the more that I'm up on my toes, and this works great for all these amateurs that you guys will end up teaching, is like, get them up like this, all the way up, and have them hit shots like that. Because 95% of all amateurs are going to fall backwards, okay? So now you get them up like this, and they're going to go, oh, okay. And then you say, okay, now fall forwards. And you fall forwards like that, you hit a good shot every single time.
Gabe, question?
Yep.
I think we're talking mostly about shorter shots, but if we get into the distance wedge, say 80, 90, more of a fuller swing.
Yeah.
What's your thought on launch angle, and do you subscribe to that 30 degree and under?
I mean, it depends. Thanks, Trilly. It depends so much on the shot. So I mean, I feel like, you know, what shot are you looking at on that? You know, you've got a back flag, forward flag. You know, it's all shape related. Very rarely you got like just a stock shot. I haven't really looked into that, the numbers exactly. I say, listen, I need to hit a high shot, I need to hit a low shot, and sort of go off that. And I still will have most people practice the low shot, obviously the shaft lean. I don't know the numbers. I'll learn them today. Hopefully someone tells me. But the thing is, I look at there, it's like if you work with a tour player, they kind of shape it. The amateur player, we know they probably have to, you know, get their hands in front because most people end up flipping those as well. Yes.
Any more questions
Yeah.
before we break for lunch?
The one thing that really drives me nuts was double hitting the ball when I don't expect it to happen at all.
Mhm.
And it's happened at some pretty big moments for me
Yeah.
in tournaments when I was doing well.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad they changed the rule. Because I know I'll do it again.
Yeah.
Because it's happened like 3 times and it's embarrassing. And it's happened when I was right at the where I wanted to be.
Mhm.
And it's happened, and it just talk about getting worked up, you know. And so what I know it's because of conditions that I'm not used to, and I don't understand it. But I usually take it pretty steep with my hands and wipe it. What do you do? Do you? I mean, I'm probably going to have a situation again, hopefully at some point, where I have that again, and I don't do that. But I'm glad they changed the rule.
Yeah. It's the double hit is obviously a cadence issue. So whenever I see double hits, it's over acceleration on the way through. So if you speed up your backswing, you've solved the problem right away. Unless you're chunking it. So, I mean, it's like if you chunk it, you can't help it. But it's like if you're getting up, most time you see people double hit it. I'll show you what that. Hopefully, I don't think I can do it today. But so what you'll see is a double hit will be pretty much a slow to fast, right? We've seen that shot before. So, but if you get up and say, okay, I'm going to accelerate the backswing, there's no way that the club can get to the ball if you have enough speed in the backswing. There's no way it can get there. All right, so you had a question. You want to watch me hit?
And just short, and medium, and long, and just call your shots for us, Bob. How what your
Okay. So let's just go. I'm going to see if I can hit a couple of low wedge shots off here. I might chunk it because it's so grainy. But like if I'm going to this first hole here, I'm off this lie, I'm looking at it, and I'm picking my spot. So one of the things when I pick my spot is the first thing I do, and then I lock it out. I don't even look at the hole anymore. I'm just trying to hit my spot. So I know this is a grainy lie, so I'm going to get up and get toe down, choke way down on the shaft. And again, I'm going to get forward and slice it a little bit, lead with my hands. And that's kind of like how I approach that shot mentally. I want to see if I can hit a little higher shot here. It could be a little dangerous. But so if I'm hitting like I'll do a mid-flighted one to this second flag up there. So I'm getting up here again. The lie dictates what I'm trying to do. I'm not going to play it as far forward because I'll probably chunk it off that lie. So I'm going to get up here, accelerate the backswing, and just drive forward the same way. And then if I go the flop shot, find a real thin lie here. Let's see what happens. So the flop shot is one of those which is really, the backswing is massive that you can take it long enough back. So if I flop onto this first flag here, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go nice and slow. I'm going to finish my swing all the way through and just relax. So, and I look at that lie, and that's, I'm thinking about it. And this is what you'll see that some of the tour players, like I've seen some of those guys, that the lie is a little dicey. They stand up on it and they're like, take a couple more practice swings, talk to the caddy a little bit, because it can go 3 feet. But this is the fun part about golf too. It's like understanding that, everyone goes through this stuff, and the good part for me is I played on tour. I know the feelings. I've been on the golf course where please take me off the golf course. I've been other times where, come on, let's keep it going, right? So it's like one of those things where it's, but that's why we play the game, to feel cringy, to feel a little off. We have to be a little mental to play this game. So, but there's obviously a lot of thought to different lies. I mean, I looked at this lie earlier right here. So this is like a very grainy lie. We'll go even more. Now this is probably bad right here. Okay, so I've got this lie here. It's straight into the grain. My caddy's got my 56s. I really want to grab that right now. So, and I'm going to get up here with a lob wedge. So look at this. I'm playing all the way back in my stance here. Okay? That's the shot. The tie spinner. So, but you'll see like Sevi played a lot of these shots too. He'd get way back here and just chop down and hit it. And it's a safety shot. But I just want to hit the small ball before the big ball. That's it. All right, brother. Doing good? Yeah. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Sean. Appreciate everything. He's amazing, by the way. So every time I've come down to San Diego, when he was here, he'd always let me come out and practice and teach. I really appreciate that. Class act. Yeah. Good. Thank you, guys.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Gabe, thank you so
Yeah,
much.
you got it.
That was brilliant.
Yeah.
We're all going to go back, have lunch, and then we'll dig into some Trillium Rows.